All right, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. We are an educational channel here, and today is the 129th video on the reciprocal system of theory. The reciprocal system of theory is a theory of everything derived by Dewey B. Larson and then refined by several other people in the 21st century. Up until today, unfortunately, there are some people following it, but it is very obscure, and nobody really knows about the reciprocal system, which is a shame, and that's why I'm trying to change it here. The reciprocal system is a very powerful tool that we can use ourselves to really free us from the dependency on the scientific establishment, also the religious establishment. We can figure these things out for ourselves in a logical and systematic manner. And if we understand the reciprocal system, we get answers to our questions, regardless of what area they come from. It is a theory of everything. It allows you. It's a system. You understand the system, and then you can plug it into any subject that you like. You know, you have to do so carefully and conscientiously, but it allows you, a disciplined thinker, to arrive at answers to any questions that they have. And it's not mystical. It's not. There's no mumbo jumbo. It's just some basic principles that you have to learn, and then you have to learn how to apply them. And the first person that the person who derived the theory did just that, and he made a few mistakes. The theory itself is correct, as he said, but whether I've applied it correctly in every instance is another matter. He didn't make a few mistakes, and so we're trying to, brush those, clarify those, correct those. But he really pointed the way to, to unlock the potential of the reciprocal system. So today is, I think, about the 12th video that we've done going over this interview that he did in 1984 with a guy named Jan Sommer. And I think we will finish that today. So the basic gist of the reciprocal system is that we live in a universe of motion. It's not a universe of matter, not a universe of energy, the classical legacy scientists would tell you, but a universe of motion. Matter and energy are merely two different kinds of motion. There are many other kinds of motion. All the basic scientific phenomena that you understand are strictly kinds of motion. And motion is the relationship between space and time. So all of these quantities can be defined specifically and uniquely and exclusively in terms of space and time. Space and time are reciprocals of each other. So when you're talking about a relationship between space and time, you're talking about a ratio or a fraction, with space being the numerator, time being the denominator, or vice versa. And then the inversion of that, that's the reciprocal. So that's where the reciprocal system comes in. And like all reciprocals, both reciprocals, space and time, have the same quantities, same qualities, I'm sorry. They have the same qualities, such as space being multidimensional, 3 or more dimensions. Therefore, time is also 3 or more dimensional. And time being progressing, always getting later and later. Space, therefore, is also progressing, flowing, or getting later and later. The Hubble telescope observed that in the recession of the distant galaxies. That's the progression of space, or what Larson calls clock space and clock time. And then what we were talking about earlier, the multidimensionality, is coordinate space and coordinate time. These both take place in their various contexts in the universe. And there are basically two sectors of the universe, of the physical universe. And Larson calls them Sector 1 and Sector 2. Sector 1 is the material sector that we're familiar with. And this is the sector that is moving where, just like Einstein says, the speed of light is the maximum speed of the universe. Well, what he actually meant was the speed of light is the maximum speed of Sector 1. And Sector 2 is the section of the universe that is actually moving faster than the speed of light. And this is where things such as life and intelligence come from. And there is a boundary between them that is the speed of light. And the speed of light is actually 1 unit of time, 1 unit of space in 1 unit of time. And that shows the discrete nature of the universe. Time and space only come in discrete units, in chunks. There's not a continuum. They're very small chunks, and so it looks like a continuum, but it isn't. It's kind of like a cartoon. You know, when you watch a cartoon, you're seeing individual frames flashing by you at a very fast speed, you know, 50 per second or 100 per second or something. And it gives the illusion of, you know, continuous motion. Well, in this universe, it's like a cartoon, but there are 6 quadrillion of those frames going by per second. Okay, that is the unit of time, is this 1 6 quadrillionth of a second. But it is, again, it is a non-continuous thing. It is frames, you know, but they're just going by so fast that we can't really resolve them. Okay, we're going to take over this talk here with the question from Jan Sommer. Could you clarify a couple of points for me? One of the difficulties I'm having is that the unit of electricity is the electron. There doesn't seem to be any unit of magnetism. Atoms, one could say, are the units of gravitation. They are the smallest units that gravitate. But in magnetic phenomena, there's nothing of the kind. Larson. Well, the electron is not actually a unit of electricity. It happens to be a physical unit that can take an electric charge. Question. Of course, atoms can also take electric charges. Larson. But the electron as a physical unit without the electric charge has no properties except insofar as it is a unit of space. It's essentially a rotating unit of space. And it acts as a unit of space rather than as a unit of something corresponding to charge. It really has no relation to charge. They're really two different electrical phenomena there. So in Larson's system, there's an electron, which is the cause of electric current. And this is uncharged electricity. The electron has to be vibrating before it gains a charge. So that vibration is the charge, not the electron. The vibration, a charge is a rotational vibration. There are 4 kinds of motion: a translational motion, a vibrational motion, a rotational motion, and a rotational vibration. and they can come in 1, 2, or 3 dimensions. And so a charge is a rotational vibration, um, you know, but an electron is just a rotating unit of space. Again, this is where the discrete unit postulate comes in. It's a unit. It's not, there's not a continuum. The electrons are all the same. They're rotating units of space. So they, that is defining them as a unit of space. The unit of space is 4.56 times 10 to the minus 8 meters. Okay, very small, but not nearly as small as the unit of time. The unit of space is very small, but it's very large compared to the size of an atom. Okay, now getting back to the questioner. My attempt here has been to find out what are the areas open for future research. So magnetism is one of them. Larson, well, I would put it in a little different way. What I have done in this deductive phase of the operation is to start from the postulates and work downward toward more detailed applications, the principles and applications applying to smaller areas. And actually, we haven't gone very far in any but a few selected areas. In astronomy, for instance, this book will carry us pretty well along. Most astronomical fields, as I explain in the book, are attempting to study the individual objects, a particular star, for instance. But I was interested in the general principles. The only area I have not gone into in any great detail is spectroscopic work, simply because it's too big a subject and would take too much time. Outside of that, we've gone into astronomy fairly thoroughly here, but there are very few areas that we have done that, I would say a thing like solid compression, there isn't a lot of work that's necessary there. And the interatomic distance relations, we did them pretty well, but by and large, almost every physical area is open to a lot more development of the details. If I compare, for instance, the amount of material that is in this new book, the astronomy book, with the astronomical pages I had in the structure of the physical universe, I probably had about 30 pages there on astronomy. Well, I expanded that up to 450. And all of that is new information. It isn't that I have been any more wordy on the thing. I have probably been as condensed in the 450 pages as I was in the 30. It's additional material. Question, so the other areas could be extended in some way. Larson, people are continually saying, well, what does your theory give us in this area? Of course, I haven't necessarily gotten to that area yet. My answer to them is, I've given you the clue, the handle that you can work with, and it's up to you to go ahead and carry it on. And those are the last words of Larson on this interview. So those are good last words, as if he recognized that he was going to die fairly soon. He did about 6 years later at age 92, I believe. And he's left it up to us to go ahead and carry it on, to develop the details of the theory. The theory is there and it's set, and the theory is correct. Now, whether we are able to kind of understand the theory well enough so that we can apply it to our own situations. He's not even just talking about physical theory. He's not just talking about electrons and magnetism and solid compression and astronomy. He's talking about, every subject, nutrition, music theory, whatever subject floats your boat. you can plug the reciprocal system into it. And that's why I believe it needs to be taught, because, you can take your passion and you can break it down in terms of the reciprocal system. It's a theory of everything. And those are the kind of subjects that I teach here. And that's why I have spent so much time, and I will spend a lot more time on the reciprocal system, and why I spent so much time on the tree of life. The tree of life is also a theory of everything that you can use to provide answers to any question that you have. So these two theories both dovetail. They agree in many, many important respects, and they can be used in conjunction with each other. And so it's a powerful combination, but you have to put in a fair amount of work before you can get to that point. And so, but it's not like an insurmountable amount of work. It's like your high school chemistry class. You have to apply yourself, for 5 days a week for 45 minutes a day for a year. And then you would really, really understand the reciprocal system and the tree of life, and you would be able to start applying it to your own subjects. So it's not an insurmountable obstacle. It's just that there is no infrastructure built up for any of these subjects. And so you have to kind of do it on your own initiative. Now, I'm trying to put together some initiatives of my own to, including this YouTube channel, or, YouTube and other channel, and trying to get this out there and get people, in a place where they can make these kind of studies, and so that they can apply it to their subjects of interest. So I think that's what it takes, is just a little bit of infrastructure to kind of make it a little bit easier for people to become fluent in the reciprocal system. And, my disclaimer is that I'm not necessarily fluent in the reciprocal system either. I understand quite a bit of it just from sheer time, but it is challenging, and there's certain aspects of it that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. And there are, again, it's sloppy because there are areas where he made a few mistakes, and so those mistakes are being corrected, but then there are people that are orthodox Larsonians who thought that he didn't make any mistakes, and that all these revisions are unnecessary and leading the theory in the wrong direction. And so there's a minor little civil war going on within the people that are actually, involved in studying this stuff. I think that's mostly just noise, and that we can bypass that, and that what we just have to do is figure out what Larson is talking about, and then look carefully at the corrections that have been made, and make your decision themselves. But Larson, learn Larson's theory, and then learn where other people have said that he made mistakes, and then check those mistakes out, and the answers will eventually come to the fore, because the theory is a check on itself. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do on this channel is we're going to start to go over Larson's magnum opus that is called The Structure of the Physical Universe. And this is the volume 2 of The Structure of the Physical Universe. The first volume came out in 1959, and a lot of it is kind of like a little bit fragmented. He went in, just like he said in the interview, he just had those 30 pages on the astronomy stuff, and some of the other stuff that he has in there is hard to break down. I mean, if you read his first volume, it's written in typewriter, and there's all kinds of parenthetical comments written in cursive. You know, there's things, whole pages that are crossed off, and then there's a few chapters that are just missing. So luckily, Larson revised this and came up with the structure of the physical universe that includes 3 separate books. The first book is called Nothing But Motion. That is primarily on physics. And then the second, and some chemistry. And then the second book is primarily on chemistry. It's called Basic Properties of Matter. And then the third volume is on astronomy. It's called The Universe of Motion. Now, those books didn't come out chronologically. The first book, Nothing But Motion, came out in 1979. The second book, Basic Properties of Matter, he finished up in 1987. And the third book he finished in 1984, is Universe of Motion. So he was kind of working on all these books, or just put them out, when he did this interview that we just went through. But I'm just going to read Nothing But Motion, read the table of contents to get into the idea of where he's going with this theory before we start it up. Okay, so there's 21 chapters, and there's a preface. Chapter 1, background. Chapter 2, a universe of motion. Chapter 3, reference systems. Chapter 4, radiation. Chapter 5, gravitation. Chapter 6, the reciprocal relation. Chapter 7, high-speed motion. Chapter 8, motion in time. Chapter 9, rotational combinations. Chapter 10, atoms. Chapter 11, subatomic particles. Chapter 12, basic mathematical relations. Chapter 13, physical constants. Chapter 14, cosmic elements. That's referring to the cosmic sector, or sector 2. Chapter 15, cosmic ray decay. Chapter 16, cosmic atom building. Chapter 17, some speculations. Chapter 18, simple compounds. Chapter 19, complex compounds. Chapter 20, chain compounds. And chapter 21, ring compounds. So there's a lot of organic chemistry there at the end, and a lot of physics there at the beginning, and then, you know, things on atoms and subatoms and so on. So there's a lot of stuff there. We're going to dig in with the preface starting right away, and we'll work from there. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.